Hi, this is János, it is Real World Audio, and it is time for Kintaro to make some noise for us. And in addition to that, it is time to have some application notes for Altec speakers. I think many of you have been wondering, are Altec drivers or loudspeakers made with Altec drivers made for me or not? And there is one key consideration that I think people don't really talk about online, and you might not even know it, but I think what I have noticed that it's probably going to make the real difference when you are thinking, provided you can find Altec drivers. For many of you, the problem is that you can't get any in the area you live. But if you happen to live somewhere where there are available Altec drivers and they are at a price that is decent, not in the skies, then, and you are thinking, okay, shall I get one? Shall I start building a loudspeaker project with them or not? Then I think what I'm going to say now, this is going to be the most important consideration, whether you should do it or not. And that is how much time are you listening to them and how frequently. Because these drivers, they were built to be played like 10 hours a day each day. So that's their durability. So these ones, especially the very big one, so these were the biggest Altec complement for the voice of the theater system. That's the 515 series and the 288 series compression drivers. This is the most extreme example for what I'm talking about. And if you are going for smaller and smaller Altec drivers, this becomes less true, but true to a degree that it's a very big difference from modern drivers. So what I am talking about, one thing is that these drivers, they were built for being played in, let's say, in a movie theater or in a venue, and as I said, like 8-10 hours a day or even more every day for several decades of use like that. So that was their design criteria. But in addition to that, what is not really obvious is that they are happy when they are being played every day. So if you are not playing them every day and you are thinking about maybe you have the Altec speakers and you have time maybe like once a month to listen for half an hour, then they will not work for you. Because if you don't listen to them for a month, then they will not like that. So these speakers, to sound good, they require to be played every day, pretty much. And if you are not playing them every day, you are not playing them regularly, their compliance stiffens up, and basically if you don't play it for a month, you can start the break-in process of the speakers from scratch, and you can play them for about a couple of weeks at least, playing several hours every day until they start to sound really good. In the beginning it will sound really bad. So for example, how bad it can be, as you guys recall, I've been playing La Grande, those little baby speakers, for the past about 2 or 3 months or so, and for about 2 months I haven't played the Altecs at all. And when I moved the La Grande to my office, and then I started using these Altecs again, it sounded absolutely ghastly horrible. And one thing what I would say is that it sounded like totally anemic, like no bass at all. La Grande has like 1,000,000 times better, stronger, more defined bass than what the voice of Lancelot with the Altec drivers has after it's been sleeping for 2 months. So there was just no bass whatsoever compared to La Grande. And it took them several weeks playing a couple hours every day, so now they sound great again, but it gave me an idea to talk about this issue. So if you are planning to think that you will get Altec drivers and you can treat them the same way as modern drivers behave, like for example you have Wilson audio speakers and you have the time only to listen like every second week, maybe you have like 10 minutes on a Friday night and then you can turn it on. Otherwise, your life is too busy, you are working non-stop, family, whatnot. Then with modern speakers, that approach will work. Even for them, they will sound much better if you can play them regularly, but they don't depend on it. They can take it fine. So if, let's say, for a modern loudspeaker, like a current-heavy, high excursion driver, if you play it very sparsely, then it will still stay at a relatively good performance level. If you would play it much more regularly, it would sound great, better, but also with more those modern drivers, especially high excursion ones, you will wear them out much sooner. So if you use them very heavily several hours every day, then they will not last you 5 decades or 7, 8, 9 decades like these Altecs last, maybe a decade or less, especially provided the surrounds just fall apart, and then you can of course recon the unit and then they will work longer for you, but you have to be aware, you need to be able to find a service or the parts for it to recon. Most often that's the biggest thing, especially if you have special drivers, then their materials, the surround, the spider, they are not easily sourceable, they are custom, and if you just replace them with commonly available parts, having recon with a service that just go with a certain type of surround, certain type of spider, that will change the sound a lot if it's not the same that you are using. So that's a consideration, that if you want to listen or intend to, that's part of your listening habit, to use your system heavily, then you will tremendously benefit from Altec drivers, and especially that they have zero fatigue, like absolutely zero fatigue. And how zero? Well, nowadays what we started to do with Nelly is we started to listen to audiobooks through the phone. So we have our local library here in the town, and the library Nelly found out that you can borrow audiobooks. So that's what we started doing, listening to audiobooks when in the car, when we are commuting to work. So instead of you are stuck in the traffic and you just got drained by the time you get home, now I'm kind of looking forward to driving, and I don't mind if the traffic is really big because we have the audiobook to listen to. But there's something to look forward. But the issue is that when you are in the car and listening to the audiobook, many of these audiobooks have not just someone reading it out for you, but there's special effects like the cats are doing now. I think you might have heard the meow. It was the cats providing the special effects. So these audiobooks have often special effects added to them, and when you are in the car, they are just often like get ground into the background noise of the driving, and I really wish that they just lose their special effects. It's just so not good, and makes at least hearing the main story, what the person is reading out, much harder, especially when the person there's like a dialogue of multiple people and he's using different voices at different levels, and some of them are screeching in your ear, and the other dialogue you can barely hear. So you turn up the volume for one, and then you turn down the volume for another. That's kind of like the situation. However, when we started, Kintaro, be more gentle with Machi. Kintaro, moderate yourself, my son. Okay, it's the cats. I call him my son, of course. Kintaro. Machi, come here. Machi. Maybe I got tangled in the microphone's cable. Maybe I can grab Machi. She went under my chair, but I try to get her. She is very heavy, and she is Miss Velcro. So when you want to lift her up, she kind of puts out her claws into the carpet, so it becomes really, really hard to lift her up. But she's here. So she was the one who was making the noises, because her brother, the bigger one, he was playing rough with her, so she was meowing. But now she's purring, so it's all right. So, where was I? Special effects. So in the car, those are just really like, what a nuisance. But here, when I plug it into the system with the Altec, and I'm plugging the phone in, and these new phones just have rubbish, absolutely rubbish outputs. The old phones had so much better quality audio. But even with this rubbish audio, with the Altec system through the Ampex tube amplifiers, it's just a joy to listen to the audiobooks, and the experience is completely transformed compared to a car. And now this might be something that for many of you might be something like an alien experience, because if something sounds poor in your car, when you put it in your audiophile system, it is absolutely terrible. So it's unlistenable on the square. But with the Altec, it's the total opposite experience. That annoying, you can hear that it's lowish quality MP3. Through the Altec, it's just fantastic. It's just such an ambience, and we can hear like last night. Nelly was saying that, are the neighbors listening to video games again? Because we have really good soundproofing on the walls between us and the neighbors, and the only thing we can hear them is when they are playing video games extremely loud, and their subwoofer, I think it's just pushed onto our wall. And they just blast it to heavens and beyond, and we can hear like vroom, 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 vroom. That's the only thing that. Oh, Machi, no, I am not. So the sound was just inconveniencing Machi a bit. So I just telling her that I'm not barking or growling, just imitating that sound that we can hear, because there's nothing else coming. But that's the thing with soundproofing, that we don't notice that there's anyone living, can't hear anything coming out, except when it's those really low frequencies. You cannot soundproof for super low frequencies. It will go through anything. The only exception being if you have like a meter or 2 meters thick stone or concrete wall. That will stop the low frequencies, but if you try sound treatments, no, it will not. So basically, and also my neighbor is almost deaf, so he is always just cranking up his stereo and computer to the maximum possible volume so that he can feel the vibrations, and of course we can feel them as well. But to Nelly's surprise, then those rumbles were not coming from the neighbor, but they were coming from the audiobook. And we were really refreshed to notice that I paused the audio, okay, rumble stop, rumble on. So it was like some dialogue, and there was like maybe like a space shuttle in the background or something like that, and they put on like a really crazy deep frequency rumble, and here all the special effects they're doing to the audiobooks are just totally amazing, and I realized that, wow, these guys who make these audiobooks, they are not just doing a job to annoy you with really low quality sound effects. Actually, the sound effects that are on these, actually we've been listening to Star Wars audiobooks nowadays, and at least these Star Wars audiobooks, they have excellent sound effects on them, and they just really create a fantastic atmosphere when listening to these Altec speakers. But when it's in your car, it's just an annoyance factor. So this is one more thing that what I'm doing is that maybe we listen to like 5-6 hours of audiobooks here on the Altecs. We also watch Netflix and movies through the Altec system, and it's an experience which is much more pleasant and rewarding than going to the movie theater. When we go there, it's kind of like a noticeable downgrade in sound quality, and so that's something that you can also think about, that you can do if you have these speakers, because just remind yourself that these drivers, this technology was developed for movie theater, for extended use, for really to give you an atmospheric experience. And it's just a joy to discover that even low quality MP3s can create just an amazing experience that you would not expect after hearing those sculpted sounds coming from the majority of audiophile equipment. And why I am listening to that, and you would ask me that, János, why aren't you listening to music only if you have such a rewarding stereo system? And the reason for that is that when I play music, it is just so intense when it's recorded in high quality that you cannot do anything, just listen to the music. And when I listen to audiobooks or watch Netflix or something, in that case I do something else. So it is only as a background activity, and we are working on something else. So Nelly is working on her projects, I'm working on my projects, or maybe working on work. But if you are listening to music, I put on maybe like Beethoven or Vivaldi or something, that's just so intense that I can't work next to that, because all my attention is grabbed and captured by it. And the experience can be just so deep that that after that I don't even want to do any activity after all. Just just sit quietly and just meditate and absorb the music and let it work inside me, or just take a walk and just stay in that refreshed state that the music has caused. Okay, so now Kintaro is doing the same thing that he did at the start of the video, playing around with a piece of paper. Now he knocked over the trash can, and he is going into the trash can. So that's my cue to put my shit down and just take care of Kintaro. So thank you for listening. Have an astonishing day. Bye.